Ponies.
Our film begins with a girl going to sell a radio, but as it is being opened, the saleswoman is shocked to find that it is a surveillance device. Even the owner of the radio herself doesn't understand what is going on. At the same time, in another location, there is a girl sitting in a bar. A young man approaches her and says a mysterious phrase. Strangely, she asks him, "Shouldn't I be the one to say the password?" The even stranger part is that these two girls we've seen are friends, and it is clear that one of them is a spy. To understand the story, who these people are, and why they are doing this, I will take the events back to the very beginning. But before I do, what appears in front of you is my Instagram account, and the link is in the description. I won't talk much about that point. The story began in 1967, with Chris and Robert walking together because they were heading to carry out a secret mission. Supposedly, they work at the American Embassy, but fundamentally, they are part of the CIA, American intelligence. At that moment, Chris goes to sit next to a person sitting at a desk on the street, because he was a spy working for them who had been caught by Russian intelligence. Therefore, Chris explains to him that he will try to find any way out for him and will facilitate the departure of him and his family to Finland. As for Robert, he stands monitoring the surroundings from a distance in case any trouble occurs, or if anyone notices them. Suddenly, he finds a person passing by with a dog, who says to him, "The weather is cold, isn't it?" and he continues on his way. Robert understands the signal and calls out to his partner so they can move quickly, because someone is watching them. They run to the car to try and get the spy who is with them as far away as possible before they finish him off, but there are two cars following them, firing pistols at them. When they finally manage to escape from them, they discover that the spy has died because he took a stray bullet. Unfortunately, the mission is ruined for them. At this time, we find B, Chris's wife, standing in the market, trying to reason with a seller. She had bought a carton of eggs that should contain 6, but when she opened it, she discovered there were only 5, and 2 of those were broken. However, the woman feigns ignorance, acting as if her Russian is not very understandable. At that moment, Twila, Robert's wife, happens to be passing by. When she sees the argument, she wants to step in and help. She explains to B that things here don't work with such politeness and that she must shout and use some profanity so they feel she is in control. As soon as she actually does this, the woman returns her money very simply. Afterward, B is very surprised at how Twila recognized her, since it was almost the first time they had seen each other, and Twila had only been in Moscow for 2 days. Twila explains to her that all the embassy wives they are with were talking about her. Since she has studied several things, and works as a secretary at the embassy, is a bit surprised by this, and asks her if she will attend the Christmas party that will be held at the embassy tonight. Twila tells her that she is trying to find any way to get out of it. It is clear that she hates her life, and the nature of her husband's work. As soon as Chris returns home, he finds B preparing a cake for the birthday Christmas party. And she looks visibly upset because of what Twila said. She wished she were working in a field related to her studies, feeling like she was building a future for herself. Chris tries to handle the situation with her, saying, "Didn't we agree that you'd come with me here for a few years until I stabilize my work, and after that, I'll stay home and take care of it while you launch into your professional life?" She feels reassured and calms down. As for Robert, when he returns home, he finds Twila in a bad mood as well because she is tired of moving to a different country every short while and she wants to find any excuse not to go to the party. However, he pressures her because he has a mission at night, so she must attend in his place. At that point, Twila loses her temper and says loudly, "So I'm going to the party against my will, just because you're busy with the CIA." He is shocked that she is speaking like this out loud, as this is supposed to be secret information. Furthermore, the Russians monitor all the houses, especially those under suspicion. He writes on a piece of paper that she must never mention this again because the house is bugged. Then he burns the paper and leaves. At the end of the day, when Twila arrives at the party, she goes to stand with B because she is the only person she can deal with. Suddenly, in the middle of the beautiful party atmosphere, they find Dean coming to call B and Twila because he needs to speak with them about something urgent. Dean is considered one of the top agents in the CIA. He takes them to the bathroom because it is the safest place to talk. He informs them that, unfortunately, their husbands were on a secret mission on a helicopter, and a minor technical failure occurred, resulting in both of them passing away. Of course, B stands there, unable to understand anything because she cannot process what she is hearing. Unlike Twila, whose focus is entirely on knowing the truth because it's very obvious that this is a polished story told to people, but what was the real cause of their death? Dean repeats the same words again because he cannot disclose more than that. When B returns home, she breaks down in tears, hugging her husband's jacket to feel that he is still around her. Afterward, she and Twila return to America because their presence in Moscow no longer serves any purpose. At that time, Twila goes to the place where her mother lived with her boyfriend, only to be surprised that they broke up months ago, and her mother left the place without even bothering to call her and give her the details. As for B, she goes to her parents' house and stays with her grandmother, constantly thinking about where exactly she will start her life, whether she should work, study, or what she should do. Her grandmother tries to calm her down from the rush of these thoughts because all she needs right now is to rest. At that point, B explains to her that it is impossible for her to rest until she discovers what happened to her husband. Her grandmother encourages her to do so because she too lived in Russia and got married there, and her husband died in a mysterious accident. She spent years thinking about returning to search for the truth, but age has already passed her by. The next day, she and Twila go to the intelligence headquarters because they are holding a sort of memorial for their husbands, giving them a star so they will always remember them for the many sacrifices they made for the country. Naturally, both of them get very angry because is that no more information or anyone to explain exactly what happened. Afterward, they go out for the evening, and suddenly the idea strikes them that to discover the truth, they must return to Moscow. They go to meet Dean so he can provide them with any job there, or even a compensation more valuable than the star they received. He explains to them that there is no work there except for intelligence. B gets very excited, saying, "Yes, we want this secret work," because she wants to achieve something of value to society. Of course, Twila backs her up, saying that since they are women, no one would ever suspect they are working as spies. Dean feels her logic is sound and goes to meet his superior to present the idea. The superior agrees, but on the condition that if they are caught, please don't mention my name in the matter, and I would be very grateful to you, because it's unthinkable to say the president sent 2 women to solve the crisis they have. As soon as returns to her home in Moscow, she finds a group of employees entering to search the place to ensure there are no bugs or surveillance cameras. The next day, Dean takes them to the secret headquarters where they are supposed to gather afterward. He tells B to return to her work in the secretariat. Twila expects that he has assigned her the same work. But there is one small problem. She doesn't know how to type on paper because she has never worked before. He explains to them that they need to manage their affairs with these jobs until he informs them of what will happen next. The first day of work is a disaster because she doesn't understand anything at all, but she gets through it by faking it with confidence. At the end of the day, they meet with Dean and his assistant, Ray, in the car to explain the plan. He tells them, "See that car parked behind us? That belongs to the KGB Russian intelligence." He recognizes them easily because all their cars have a triangle made of dust to make them distinct, and he is being monitored like this all the time because he is an important figure, as you can see. As for the mission, he has been trying for a year to recruit an agent from their side, whose codename is Solar, and he will provide them with very important information that they need to obtain. Naturally, B is the one who will go to communicate with him because she can speak Russian, and the password will be, "It looks like it will rain today," to which he will respond, "Spring is almost here." At that point, she is to give him what she has and take from him what he has. Twila's mission, of course, is to stand and watch from a distance, and if anything happens, she should try to take B and escape. Afterward, Dean gets out of the car with Twila to act naturally, as if they were going to dinner together. Suddenly, they meet Andrei, one of the senior agents in Russian intelligence, who tries to needle Dean, saying, "I was very saddened when I learned you lost 2 of your men." Dean feigns ignorance, saying, "Which men? You seem to have the wrong address." The next day, Twila takes her husband's radio to sell it to a woman in the market. When she opens it from the inside to check if it's working or not, she finds the wires removed and a device installed that creates frequencies encrypted messages. At that time, she goes with B to the place where she is supposed to meet Solar, and she stands waiting for her outside. At that moment, B is visibly very nervous. She goes in to sit at a table alone, not understanding anything. Suddenly, she finds someone coming to sit with her, saying, "It rained recently, right?" She asks him, "Isn't it supposed to be me who says that phrase?" She realizes she is focusing on unnecessary details and had forgotten the topic entirely. She gives him the book she has, and he is supposed to tear out the papers and put them in water for the text to appear. Luckily for her, Andrei enters and sits in the same restaurant. As soon as he sees her, he feels her appearance is suspicious and goes to talk to her. At that moment, Twila notices his car has that dust triangle in addition to the Pegasus winged horse mark on the door. She becomes certain that trouble is about to happen. She keeps knocking on the door loudly, so B takes notice and leaves. But time has already run out because Andrei approaches her in a tense manner and introduces himself. He is about to go into details when Twila feels she must act in any way possible. She gets a lighter, enters, and throws it in the place. Fire catches everywhere and B is able to get out quite easily. At that time, Twila feels her adrenaline is high due to the action that just happened, unlike B, who is worried because she hasn't processed that she has gotten herself into all these troubles. At that moment, Andrei takes Solar and conducts a quick interrogation. "Is this your friend? What is her name?" After that, why did she leave without you? Sola is nervous enough and cannot handle what Andri is doing to him. He explains to him that she was just a woman he was trying to get to know. Nothing more, and her name is Nadia. Afterward, Dean holds a meeting for them in the office because it's not acceptable that to execute one mission, they set fire to a man's restaurant. He asks Ray to bring someone from intelligence to train them instead of the mess they made. As for Sola, he returns home with great enthusiasm, filling the bathtub to soak the papers and read what is written on them. After the message arrives, he crumples them up and swallows them all at once. The next day, Twila's manager informs her that he has a friend named George who works for and he is on a trip to their location, so he'd like her to take the assistant and go meet him to make sure he has a good time. He assures them that the man is respectable and married so they don't get the wrong idea. At that time, Dean takes both of them to meet Mel because he will help B develop and become a true spy. Twila is surprised, asking why B, and goes after Dean, saying, "Are you sending me back because I set the restaurant on fire?" He explains to her that she isn't being sent back or anything. It is how to make people like her, meaning making herself pleasant and opening the hearts of those around her. Afterward, Mel takes B on a small errand and says to her, "See this building? Apartment number 415. You will go up to search it and let us know the situation because we need to make sure the person living there is trustworthy." She is surprised, wondering if this is a test or what. Before she goes down, he gives her a pistol so that if trouble arises, she can handle it. She goes up, nervous and on edge. As soon as she enters the apartment, she finds a frame with a picture of Sola with a woman. Before she can search further, she hears the sound of the door opening. She runs to hide behind the bedroom door and waits for him to enter the bathroom. She then runs to the balcony, and she has no solution other than to jump. Of course, Mel had planned ahead and placed a dumpster under the balcony so she would land safely. When she returns home, she tries to calm herself by all means. Suddenly, she finds a lamp ringing. When she looks for its location, she finds it hidden inside the wardrobe. But even stranger than all of this is that when she answers, she finds Andri because he has been infatuated with her since the day of the fire. She tries to hang up quickly before she messes things up. At that time, Twila goes to the restaurant to meet George. She tries to follow Dean's advice and talks with excessive familiarity, telling him about her husband and how things between them were very good because he helped her travel the world and see many countries. She says that since he left, she has become lost and doesn't know what to do. When she feels the atmosphere has turned somber, she apologizes to him since she was supposed to meet him to entertain him. Afterward, B goes to Dean's house because she is certain that he is the one who put the landline in her place. Furthermore, she says it's impossible for her to go meet Andri because her husband only died a few days ago. Dean reminds her that they are on a secret mission, meaning she should set her feelings aside for a bit. She gets even more upset because she certainly won't mix work with emotions. She goes to meet Twila to tell her what happened because she is seriously considering withdrawing and returning to America. But Twila likes the idea because it's not right that after all this, they should give up in a moment of tension or fear. Besides, she was the one who encouraged them to come this far to discover the truth. B regains her courage and agrees to continue. Afterward, Sola brings the pictures they requested from him and goes to hide the camera in the lid of a trash bin in a public restroom. Of course, B and Twila are the ones who go themselves to take the camera from there, but unfortunately, after they deliver the camera to Dean, they discover the quality of the photos is very low, so no details are visible. He asks B to meet him Sola again in the cemetery to return the camera and clarify all these details to him. At that time, George is sitting in the hotel because he is supposed to travel the next day. Suddenly, he finds a woman knocking on his door, introducing herself as Sve. She says that if he is free, she could spend the day with him. He agrees quite easily, but what he didn't account for is that all of this is a trap because they have placed a camera in the hotel room. Meanwhile, B meets Sola. Both of them appear as if they are a couple. She holds his hand to give him the camera without anyone noticing. He asks her, out of curiosity, about her real name because Nadia is surely a cover. However, the ABC of espionage is that she must not give any private information. She tries to inquire from him about her husband and if he had seen him anywhere before. He doesn't get a chance to answer her because they see a group of young men passing in front of them. He becomes very nervous and gets up to leave. After Sveta finishes with George, she goes to meet Andri because he is the one who asked her to do all this. He gives her an envelope full of money. Suddenly, he turns treacherous, betrays her, and kills her, leaving her just as she is in the street. At the end of the day, Twila goes to spend the evening with B in her apartment because she suspects her husband was a double agent, meaning he worked for both sides. Suddenly, they find Andri calling, and this time she deals with him calmly and arranges a meeting. The next day, George is at the airport and finds Sveta's picture in the newspapers. They wrote that she worked as a girl of the night prostitute and that they found her dead in a public garden. He is very surprised by the news because when she was with him, she didn't ask for money at all. He calls Twila to come to the airport and tells her everything that happened because he feels there is something wrong with the matter. He asks her to look into it more or report to the police that she was with him and that it's impossible for this to be her profession. She explains to him that he is a well-known man with a high position in America, meaning if the incident spreads, it will be a problem for him. So, control yourself. She promises him she will try to handle it without making him a party to the conversation. At that time, B sits with Mel to practice the things she will say to Andre, that she is from the provinces and works as a nursery teacher. Mel throws peanuts at her face, reminding her that this time it's peanuts, but with Andre it will be regular bullets from a gun. For that reason, she must say convincing things because her accent doesn't sound at all like she is from the provinces. It's terrible. He suggests she could be from Belarus. Of course, she shouldn't mention her husband, because if he looks into her, he will discover everything. As for Andrew's information, he works in Russian intelligence and very soon could become the party leader. He is married and has a child. When Dean feels that B is excessively worried, he explains to her that even if Andrew discovers the truth, he won't be able to kill her because the rules between them would mean they would kill his wife in return. She feels her life is much better after those two sentences. Afterward, Twila goes to speak with Ray because she is certain that he is the only one who might care about Savita's case. He is surprised why she is even interested in something like this, since she doesn't know her, or is even remotely related to her. She explains to him that Sveta was lonely, just like her, meaning she could be put in the same situation. He is convinced, and promises her that he will act. When she finishes with him, she goes to spend the evening with B to give her advice on how she can easily attract Andre and make him so attached to her that he tells her information about his work. Most importantly, she shouldn't meet with him in empty areas because God knows exactly what is in his head. She tells her to give him lots of praise, as this is the most effective way with men. At the end of the day, Andre calls her to confirm their meeting at the cinema at 7 o'clock. She slips up, saying, "Oh, I love this cinema very much and I go there almost every day." He is surprised because he has never seen her there. She tries to gloss over the subject so she doesn't get caught so early. The next day, Twila wakes up to an early visit from Ray because when he looked into Sveta's incident, he discovered that this matter has been repeated more than once with several girls, and they find them dead in the street, but they label them as girls of the night so that no one investigates further. At that point, Twila gets very excited and says to him, "Let's ask the experts themselves to make sure if these girls really work like that or not." She takes him, and they go to the market to meet the same saleswoman who informed her that her husband's radio wasn't a radio at all. She asks her if she knew any of those houses that, God forbid, are like that. Naturally, the woman refuses to give them any information until she takes her sweetener bribe first. And after that, she writes the address for them. As soon as they arrive, they detain a woman there and show her photos of the girls to see if she recognizes any of them. Well, amazingly, it turns out she knows all of them because they are actually her friends and work in the same profession as her. But the strange thing is that they all died in the same manner. At the end of the day, before B goes to meet Andre, Dean comes to inform her of a slight change in the plan. She must try to convince him to take her to his apartment, because he certainly has another secret safe house where he keeps all the important files. He gives her a surveillance device to leave it there. Naturally, she refuses because she cannot allow matters to go that far. He starts giving her a lecture on motivation and some existential questions about her purpose in life, until she eventually agrees. At that time, Twila is heading out for the evening with Mont, but suddenly she finds Ray standing waiting for her in front of her apartment door because he is worried about B. He asks her to abandon her plans for the evening and follow her friend to watch over her. Meanwhile, B is in the cinema with Andre trying to embody the role as much as possible. Suddenly, she sees a man approaching them, whispering something, and then he leaves. She becomes very tense, wondering exactly what is happening. He makes her even more nervous by implying the talk was about her, then laughs because he was just joking. After they finish and she gets into the car with him, she finds him trying to get close to her, so she asks him to take her home, stating it's not appropriate to do this in the street. Especially since her husband recently passed away and she has her prestige to maintain, he thinks for a moment, and says, "Fine, let's go to your house then." Naturally, she is terrified and takes him to Sola's house instead. She tells him he just needs to wait in the car for a few minutes because she needs to go up and tidy the place. As soon as Sola opens the door and finds her in front of him, he doesn't understand exactly what is going on. She makes him realize that this is not the time for explanations, because Andre is already on his way up and she hides him on the balcony, and he has to jump because there is no other solution. At that moment, he finds Twila in front of him, and she tries to explain to him that she is with B, as he is afraid to talk to her in case she belongs to the Russian group. By the time Andre finishes and comes down, Twila has managed to act and installed the surveillance device in his car. When they return home, B discovers that she took Sola's framed photo from the house because she didn't know where to hide it. As soon as Twila sees the picture, she is shocked because the girl with him was among the girls seen in the news, and they had found her dead in the street. The next day, the two of them go for a jog together, and suddenly they notice a woman staring at them from a distance. She approaches them and introduces herself as Vera. She states she is not from Russian intelligence and asks them to deliver information to Dean, saying she will send him the new location. She leaves them and walks away. They stand there confused because they didn't take anything from her to deliver. When they meet Dean, he explains that she doesn't belong to good or evil, she's somewhere in the middle, following her own interests. He tells them to check their pockets because she must have planted something on them containing the information. Indeed, B finds a paper in her pocket with a drawing on it. At that moment, Dean hands the paper to Twila because she is the one who will manage this mission. She is surprised because it's almost the first time he considers her part of the job. Ray explains to her the symbols in the drawing. There is a person named Katar who is one of the Russians who always gave them very important information. As for the sharp tool in the drawing, it represents Alcazar, the butcher, the only person who can communicate with Vera. As for the meeting place, it will be at the Voice Factory at 1 a.m. Twila is amazed that all this information comes from a single drawing. At the end of the day, Andrew is drinking and drunk. He goes to B's house and is surprised to find Solar opening the door. He attacks him aggressively because he remembers him from the time of the fire. Solar tries to come up with any convincing lie, saying he loves her and they were separated but have now gotten back together. At this time, Ray receives Eva at his house, the new nanny he brought for his son. His wife is very upset with her and feels uncomfortable with her presence. Afterward, B goes to meet Solar because he must inform her of the latest news and that he lied to Andrew, making him believe they are in a relationship. She tries to understand his reasons, because if Andrew had suspected him even 1%, he wouldn't have hesitated to finish him off instantly. When she finishes with him, she goes to meet Dean because she is worried about Andrew. She asks if he has killed many people, and he feels that she should have noticed this after dealing with him closely. Meanwhile, Twila goes to meet Vera to understand exactly what she wants. Vera explains that Alcazar needs $100,000 to get information from Qatar about Russian intelligence. As for her, she needs a passport because she wants to travel and live a quiet life in the last few years remaining of her life. As soon as Solar leaves work, he finds two men waiting for him, who beat him and take his phone. Afterward, when Dean hears the amount Vera requested, he goes into a state of shock because it's impossible for them to provide such a sum so easily. She suggests to him that they could exchange the money for something valuable, like a branded watch or an original painting. He feels it's a great idea, but where are we going to get it from? In the middle of the day, Solar goes to meet B because he is very nervous about what happened to him, and he is certain the Russians are behind it because they discovered he is a spy, and they will keep hounding him to make his life miserable until they finish him off. B tries to calm him down as much as she can, because if he withdraws now, he won't achieve anything. She asks him, "You did all of this because of the girl in the photo, didn't you?" He explains that she was his sister, and they were the ones who killed her, which is why he got himself into all these troubles. He wants to discover the truth. She encourages him that he must continue. When she returns home, she finds the pressure increasing on her. They need to borrow a painting from the ambassador's office to pay Vera, and since she studied art, she could make a replica so no one notices it's gone. At the end of the day, Dean goes to meet Andrew because the latter keeps threatening him with a videotape of him with a woman. In exchange, Andrew demands money. Dean makes it clear that he has separated from his wife and has no intention of returning to America, so if Andrew wants to expose him, there is no problem. Meanwhile, Twila goes with Vera to Algiers, and they present the painting to him. She tries to convince him by all means that it is extremely valuable until he is convinced, and takes it. Afterward, she hands Vera the requested passport, and asks if she knew anything about the cause of her husband's death. Vera tells her that she was on the same plane with him and Chris. And after they landed, a group of soldiers ambushed and killed them. This was because, unfortunately, her husband was a spy for the Russians. Before she finishes her story, she leans on the railing behind her, which comes loose, and she falls into the water and dies. Twila goes to B to tell her what happened, and she finds her breaking down in tears because all this time she was living on the hope that he might be alive. Twila comforts her to calm her down and is afraid to tell her that her husband was a spy, lest B blame her and distance herself. As soon as Dean discovers that Vera died, he tells them consider this mission permanently closed. However, Twila wants to discover the truth to the end and suggests that they could bring any woman they trust to act as Vera and continue the plan normally. At that point, B feels no one is suitable for this mission except her grandmother. Indeed, when she proposes it to her, the grandmother agrees and travels to her immediately because she wants to help her in every way to discover the truth. After they arrange everything, B starts to have second thoughts because she's afraid the plan will fail and something will happen to her grandmother. She tells her if you feel anxious or that you rushed your decision, you can back out normally. The grandmother reassures her that she isn't afraid and that being with her is the best decision. Afterward, B goes to Solar's house because she feels comfortable talking to him. Moreover, she brings him a book as a gift to read and encourage him to be better. At this time, the grandmother is with Twila because they are heading to execute their mission. She confides in Twila that she is hiding a secret from B because she is afraid of losing her, as her husband was the cause of everything that happened. Twila advises her that if the matter doesn't matter to her, then there's no need to mention it. In the middle of the day, B meets Andrew and goes with him to a place where he spends his evenings playing gambling. There, she sits next to a woman named Oksana, who explains that she was Andrew's partner and left him because when he gets angry, he sees nothing in front of him and can easily hurt those around him. She tells B that if she ever wants to ask for help to escape to a house far in the countryside, She works in a beauty salon. At that moment, B feels the woman is trying to get information from her, so she leaves her and goes back to Andrew while he is playing. As soon as the grandmother goes to meet the person she is supposed to take the information from, it turns out to be an ambush, and she is arrested. Twila runs to Dean's house so he can deal with the catastrophe they are in. At that time, one of Andrew's men comes to inform him that they have arrested Vera. B becomes very tense and tries to convince him to take her with him instead of ruining their evening so early. Strangely, he is actually convinced and agrees. As soon as they arrive at the location, he leaves her outside to go in and see what he will do with the woman who has been causing them trouble for a while. B circles the place to look for any way to see what is happening inside, until she finds an iron window looking into the office, and she is shocked when she confirms they have indeed arrested her grandmother. At that moment, Andrew is certain that this is not Vera, because he had met the real Vera before. He tries to pressure her by all means to get what she has and understand who exactly sent her. She tries to outsmart him and pretends to cry, saying a person met her in the street and asked her to act like a woman named Vera and gave her money, but she has no further information. He speaks to her in English to check if she is American or not, and he continues to frighten her and pressure her with words about being thrown in prison, where there is no food or drink, not to mention undergoing all kinds of pain, both psychological and physical. As terrified as she is by what she is hearing, she tries to project that she doesn't understand anything. He orders his men to throw her in the cell until she is transferred to the main prison. At that moment, B runs to Andrew's car and sends an encrypted message via the surveillance device they installed to let them know her exact location. Indeed, Dean passes by to pick her up and follows the vehicle that will transfer the grandmother to prison. Dean then jumps onto it to open the back box, and thank God, they are able to transfer her with them without any disasters. At the end of the day, B feels pressured by everything happening to her. When she tries to sleep to rest a bit, she accidentally finds a recording tape under her pillow and is very surprised how it got there. As soon as she plays it, she is shocked that it is a video of her husband with another woman. Meanwhile, Ray is playing with his son and finds a recording mic among his toys. He becomes very nervous, takes it, and goes to Dean's house, telling him that it is clear there is a spy among them. Afterward, B finds Andrew calling to pick a fight with her because how dare she leave without explaining anything to him. She loses her temper with him, saying she left because she heard him talking to the woman who was with him in the room. He gets very angry because how could she allow herself to interfere in his work, and says to her, "I have finally learned your truth," and hangs up on her. She is terrified because that last sentence is not reassuring at all. The next day, Dean goes home with Ray to search for any recording devices. By chance, they discover that the fireplace contains a ladder leading to a secret passage, and it's clear there are many details about his own house that he didn't even know. Afterward, B goes to Dean's office to ask him about the videotape because she is shocked that her husband would betray her in such a way. He explains to her that the matter has nothing to do with betrayal, and that Dean was the one who asked him to do it because he needed the Russians to have some leverage over Chris to ensure he was truly on their side and would never betray them. At that time, Sola finds a group of men coming to take him from his home. He suspects his end is near, but in the end, he finds them taking him to a hotel where surveillance cameras had been installed a year ago. They brought him specifically because a minor technical malfunction occurred. Meanwhile, Twila finds B entering the bathroom crying, so she follows her to calm her down and understand exactly what is happening. When B tells her about the video, Twila tells her it's normal, asking if he wasn't doing that for the sake of the country. She then adds, "To be honest, I've been hiding something from you. My husband was the cause of your husband's death." At this point, B loses her temper with her for hiding such important information, and she begins lashing out at her, saying, "Since you find it normal that my husband cheats on me, what can I expect from you?" Twila is deeply hurt because she thought they were friends. Afterward, B goes to meet Sola, and he informs her about the cameras in the hotel, noting they don't do this unless they intend to film important people in the rooms to get leverage over them. She feels she needs to wake up and return her full focus to the mission. She goes to Andrew's house under the pretext that she needs him for urgent work, and apologizes for what she did last time, saying she was so tense because that woman reminded her of her late grandmother. At that time, Twila takes Ray, and they pretend to spend a night at the hotel to install a tracking device in the surveillance cameras because they need to discover exactly where these tapes are going and what they are being used for. Meanwhile, B receives Andrew at Sola's house, and has installed a camera for him as well, to catch him in a compromising position, just as he does to others. When Dean arrives at his office and finds that someone has left him a videotape, he becomes very angry and paranoid, being certain that it is a video that doesn't show him in a good light. He calls his psychiatrist to schedule an appointment. Perhaps the only good thing in all this mess is that Ray is able to reach the location of the camera. He finds them hidden in a tissue box and swaps the existing tape with one of his own. At that moment, Dean is sitting alone, holding a pistol, with dark thoughts of ending his life. But suddenly, he finds B and Twila at the door, because they need to speak with him about something important, so he posts the idea for later. B informs him that Andrew let it slip during their talk, that he is trying to blackmail everyone around him, even those with him in Russian intelligence, in order to be promoted and rise quickly. Dean asks her to try and get closer to him, as this is the only way to discover everything. Afterward, Bea and Twila go and park the car in front of the hotel to follow the vehicle that will transport the videotapes and discover the secret location. Bea takes the opportunity of being alone with Twila to apologize for the things she said last time, explaining that she lost control of her emotions and took out everything inside her on Twila. Suddenly, they see ambulances moving from the front of the hotel, and they immediately realize that this is what contains everything. When Ray's wife returns home, she finds the nanny dressed up and looking elegant, who explains that Ray booked a ticket for her for a concert. The wife is very annoyed, wondering how he could do such a thing without consulting her. In the middle of their surveillance of the ambulance, they find it parked in a certain location, and Andrew gets out and goes to stand with his wife to the side, giving her a box of unknown appearance. Bea suggests to Twila that she go down and monitor the wife, while Bea will take the car and continue following Andrew. At that time, she finds Andrew heading to Sola's house and taking the elevator. She runs up the stairs quickly to arrive before him, hide, and see what he wants. Exactly, she is shocked to find him installing a surveillance device bug in the lamp because he has become suspicious of her. Meanwhile, Ray's wife goes to argue with him, demanding he take the ticket from the nanny because she, the wife, will go with him. He is forced to agree because he wants to avoid the drama. At that time, Twila finds Andrew's wife arriving at their daughter's nursery, leaving her there, and returning home. Our heroine uses her head to find a way to start a conversation. She goes and takes the girl without anyone noticing, and then takes her to the mother's house. As soon as the mother opens the door, Twila says, "I was crossing the street and found your daughter crawling all alone among the cars. And some good people directed me here." She asks for something to drink and waits for the wife to enter the kitchen, then takes the box that Andrew gave her and leaves quickly. When she opens it, she finds a shampoo bottle. At that time, Bea has managed to reach the location where the tapes are stored and tries to sneak in to see exactly what is happening inside. She is shocked because there is another person higher than Andrew who is responsible for all of this. Not only that, but he also possesses videos of Andrew himself finishing off the girls in the street. She is terrified by the sight and the place because she hadn't imagined that matters were this complicated. Afterward, she goes to Sola's house and pretends to argue with him. Since he is standing there not understanding anything, she writes on a piece of paper that there is a bug in that lamp over there. He plays along with the argument, and after they finish, they go to the balcony to speak freely. She explains to him that she has reached almost all the information she needed, meaning, if he wants to withdraw and stop helping, there is no problem. But his problem is much bigger than just helping, because he has become attached to her and developed feelings toward her. As soon as Ray arrives at the party with his wife, he finds her still upset and in a bad mood, which surprises him because he does everything to please her. She gets angrier, saying, "What are you even doing? I'm the one who left my country and my job to follow you here," and she leaves. At that time, the nanny takes advantage of the empty house and starts searching their room. When Ray's wife arrives and finds her rummaging through the drawers, she pulls a pistol on her and shoots her without thinking, suspecting she is a spy. Afterward, Twila takes Bea, and they go to the party as well, since they belong to the embassy. As soon as she sees Bea coming from a distance, Twila runs to her with great joy, saying, "Are you really still alive?" Before Bea can tell her what happened, the ambassador comes to ask them to host the party because some confusion occurred, and they are required to greet everyone present as they are important figures. But what they hadn't accounted for is that Andrew is among these important figures. As soon as he sees Bea, he says to her, "So you turned out to be an American and have been playing me all this time." Twila pulls her by the hand and they run quickly because he could finish them off right where they stand. Every time they try to hide, he appears as if from underground. As soon as Bea falls into his hands, he grabs her by the neck and swears 100 oaths that he won't let her go until she meets her end. Of course, Twila is unable to overpower him at all. Luckily, Mel arrives at that moment and hits him on the head with a stick, knocking him unconscious. As soon as the police arrive, Ray finds his wife, and she gives them a device, informing them that this is a type of secret technology and that she found it with the nanny, which is why she finished her off, as no one was supposed to discover anything about it. They take the device from her, and it is held at the CIA office until they see what this new mystery is about. Afterward, Bea goes to Sola's house to take him and escape, as this is the first place Andrew will look. At that time, she remembers Oksana, who offered that she could hide her in a rural house. She goes to her salon and takes the key. While on the road, Sola tells her that her husband was in a relationship with his sister and that he had met him once before. Bea feels that there is much conflicting information and a missing link in the middle. As soon as Ray reaches the station for his wife, he finds she has reached her limit with him because she was put in all these situations due to the nature of his work. He tries to calm her down and promises that what happened won't be repeated and that he will get her out of the case very easily. As soon as they reach the rural house, Twila finds the place strange and goes to explore until she finds a secret spot filled with boxes of the same shampoo brand that Andrew's wife had. She calls Bea and Sola because she is certain there is a secret behind these bottles. When they open them, they find blackmail videotapes hidden inside, featuring his colleagues. At that point, B wonders why he would hide such a thing in a stranger's house. And she realizes that this house must be his gets, definitely his, and that Oksana lied to her to trap her. After they move all the boxes to the car and are about to leave, they find one of Andrew's men has attacked them. When they manage to control him, they find Oksana herself has arrived, and she manages to stab Sola with a sharp tool. As soon as B sees this, she loses her temper, grabs the first thing she finds, hits her in the face, and finishes her off. They then move Sola to the car to get him to the hospital quickly, but unfortunately, they suddenly find Andrew's car following them. Twila tries to swerve quickly to distract him and escape, but the impact is greater than that, as the entire car flips over with them. At that moment, a group of American officers arrives and takes Sola to the hospital quickly. As for Twila and B, they take the unconscious Andrew in the trunk of the car and arrive at their secret office. As soon as he wakes up, he finds himself tied to a chair with both of them around him, intending to hold a quick interrogation session. At that time, B asks him who killed Chris, because Vera said that Robert was a spy and was the reason for what happened. He laughs mockingly because half of the information is correct, but there is a slight twist. Everything Vera knew was that their spy was American and his wife had colored eyes. Unfortunately, the real spy was Chris, her husband, and it was the Americans who killed Sola's sister and tried to make the incident look like it was done by the Russians. Meanwhile, Ray's wife goes to the hospital to visit the nanny. Suddenly, we see her taking out a syringe and putting it in the floor to finish her off for good. Here, we learn that she is the Russian spy, and not only that, she is also cheating on her husband with another man, and she was the one who installed the bug in the house. As for the device, she handed to the police to be held in their office. We see it exploding and setting the whole place on fire, burning all the evidence. When Dean returns home with B's grandmother, he is shocked to find Chris, B's husband, standing before him, alive and well. Returning to B and her friend, in the middle of their interrogation of Andrew, they smell smoke coming from the door. When they exit, they discover that the entire office is on fire. Moreover, Russian intelligence teams have arrived and are gathering all the files in the place. At that moment, Andrew comes out to them himself, saying, "Did you think this was the end?" B takes Twila's hand, because whatever happens, they won't be able to get through it unless they are together. In the end, Ponies leaves us shivering in the cold truth. Some races aren't meant to be won, they are meant to be survived. As the dust settles on this season, we're left staring into the abyss of that final silence. Did they lose their souls just to keep their crowns? If you're still speechless, leave it ready. If you're ready to scream, tell us, was it worth it?